Hey kids, so I'm here to walk you through these slides for both semantics and pragmatics. Sorry, this first video will just be on semantics, the next video will be on pragmatics. Okay, so what are semantics? It's the study of the meaning of all the things we've been talking about so far, so morphemes, words, phrases, and sentences. That's all it is. Sometimes when people get into arguments, someone will say, well, you're just arguing semantics. And what they mean is you're just arguing about the meaning of a word rather than the meaning of an idea. So what linguists believe is that, the meaning of words is an idea. We, just like literature majors, put a lot of emphasis on words, word choice, and what words mean, and what people mean when they use those words. That gets more into pragmatics. So let's just take a look at semantics here. We'll get back to that. Okay, so there are some semantic relations that exist among words that linguists have identified and named, and you will be familiar with most of these. Synonymy, words that have the same meaning in most or all contexts. So like pleased and happy kind of mean the same thing. Antonymy, which are words that have the opposite meanings, like tall and short. Whatever opposite means. Polysemy, when one word has two or more related meanings. So, for example, the word bear means to tolerate something or to accept something, and to carry. So these meanings are slightly different, but they're related to each other. Poly means many, and semi means meaning here. So it means it has many meanings, but that those meanings are related. So to bear something means to tolerate it or to accept it, and it also means to carry something. So we use it metaphorically. I'm carrying a weight, right? I'm tolerating some oppression or something like that. Okay, the next semantic relation is homophony. Homophony, when a word has the same pronunciation as another word, but they have two entirely different meanings. The spelling doesn't have to be the same, but they do have to sound the same. So we're talking about phonetically it sounds. So matter and matter. Matter with the t sound that we pronounce usually as d, matter, is what's at hand. What are we talking about? What's the idea? What's the matter with you? And matter, with the two d sounds, d spellings, has that inflection on the end, the er, or the affix, and it just means to be more mad than before. Okay, and then finally, a semantic relation is called a lexical ambiguity. And that's when a single form has two or more meanings. So it's either polysemy or homophony. For example, if I say, hey, let's go to the bank, you don't know if I mean the capitalistic establishment or institution, or next to a river, right, the riverbank. So this is lexical ambiguity. What do I mean by this sentence, let's go to the bank, based on this one word, meaning having two or more meanings? So those are semantic relations that have to do with words. There are also semantic relations that have to do with phrases or sentences. And this is called entailment. A kind of entailment is paraphrase, which you guys are used to. When you find a source and you like its idea, you want to cite that source, but you don't want to quote it, you paraphrase it, right? So you're saying the same thing in two different ways. For example, the cat chased the squirrel, and the squirrel was chased by a cat. Structurally, we've changed the order of the words, but one is a paraphrase of the other. So and we're really talking about terms of truth conditions. So if one sentence is true, it means the other must be true as well. They're said to have the same truth conditions. So the same reality applies to both sentences. When the truth of one sentence guarantees the truth of another, we say that that relationship is called entailment. And when it's paraphrased, it's mutual entailment. So mutual means it's the same both ways. Kind of like I have a mutual friend with somebody else. It means that person is the friend of both me and this other person. It's the same. But entailment is not always mutual. It can be asymmetrical. So it means that perhaps there's a paraphrase in one direction, but not in the other direction. So I can say, the cat and the squirrel danced. And then I can also say, the squirrel danced. So there's asymmetrical entailment. That means that I can't say the squirrel danced and then the cat and the squirrel danced. It doesn't have the same meaning, right? So if I have it in this particular order, the cat and the squirrel danced, and then I say the squirrel danced, in that order, there is entailment, right? There's a kind of paraphrase. It's partially paraphrased. But if I have it in the other order, if I say first, the squirrel danced, and then I say, the cat and the squirrel danced, it doesn't mean the same thing. It's asymmetrical, right? If A is true, then B must be true, but not the other way around. If B is true, then A doesn't necessarily have to be true. Let's look at this other example. The truth fairy took Sam's lost tooth. Sam lost a tooth. So we know that Sam lost a tooth is true because the first sentence says so. Sam's lost a tooth. So he has a tooth that's been lost. However, if I say first, Sam lost a tooth, it doesn't necessarily mean that the tooth fairy took it. Does that make sense? So if A is true, then B must be true, but not the other way around. If B is true, it doesn't necessarily mean that A is true. This is something that you likely learned in your English 101 argument class, especially if you had either Allie or I. But if you didn't learn it, just think about the logic of how these sentences go together. A lot of writers play with this kind of entailment, and sometimes they use it holistically, like within ideas, large ideas within a novel or a book or a whole poem. And sometimes just in one line or another, or they'll have characters contradict themselves in this way. This is interesting when it's used in literature, and it's interesting when we hear people do it in real life. In legal matters, especially in trials, we look for things like this, or if we are interviewing suspects in a criminal case, or if we're trying to catch somebody in a lie. This is the kind of, you ask questions to elicit certain answers, to see if people have entailment relations in their statements. So it's a method of investigating truth, basically. Okay, so another semantic entailment is contradiction. If one sentence is true, then the other must be false. So, for example, Jenny has one brother and no sisters. Jenny's sister's name is Holly. So if A is true, then it means that B cannot be true. So this is called contradiction. Both sentences cannot be true, then one contradicts the other. Okay, so pause the video and identify the semantic relations in the rows below. So your options are polysemy, paraphrase, homophony, contradiction, asymmetrical entailment, and maybe some others. So go ahead and pause and try to figure out which semantic relations apply to which statements. Okay, presuming you pause the video, here are the answers. You can pause and check yourself. So I just want to point out the entailment at the bottom. The cat killed the mouse is dead. So what kind of entailment is that? Is it mutual entailment or asymmetrical? So it's mutual entailment. it's asymmetrical entailment, right? If we turned it around, if we said the mouse is dead first, it wouldn't necessarily mean that the cat killed the mouse. But since the cat killed the mouse comes first, we know that both the cat is involved and the mouse is dead, so we can say the mouse is dead. There's also structural ambiguity, and we took a look at this in syntax. It's when two sentences with the same word order but with different meanings. Sorry, let me start that again. Two sentences with the same word order have, but with different meanings due to structural relationship that the sentences have. That's an awkward way for me to have written that. It basically means that you have the same sentence, the same word order, but different structures have different meanings. So if we look at the example below, we say wealthy men and women. You guys know how to read sentence structure now. You all can do it. You can see that it's all one noun phrase, and that the men and women are on the same level as each other and as wealthy. So wealthy modifies both men and women. However, in B, you can read from the structure that it's only the men that are wealthy and the women are tagged on at the end, right? If we look at this example here, I met the new student standing by the water cooler. The standing by the water cooler is about either a meeting or the student, right? So imagine that you guys are sitting at the table looking at the new student standing by the water cooler. Or you're in the library and totally somewhere else. And you're telling your friend that while you were standing by the water cooler, you met the new student. This is structural ambiguity, and we can represent this in the trees that you guys learned to draw. Okay, this is a pasta sauce ad from when I was a kid. This ad was all over the place in magazines and stuff back when that's how ads were done. And on TV, it said, you can enjoy a gourmet meal in your sweatpants. So pause the video, try drawing the tree for that sentence. Okay, seriously, pause the video and draw a tree for that sentence. Just try to draw it at least one way, and then, I don't know, tell me in an email or psychically what structure you used. So are you in your sweatpants enjoying the gourmet meal, or are you enjoying the gourmet meal that is actually in your sweatpants? So this was a kind of funny structural ambiguous ad that I remember from being a kid. Okay, but lexical ambiguity is when one word in a sentence has more than one meaning. So it's either caused by polysemy or homophony. The example, I found a slug in my backyard. Well, the word slug is ambiguous in this sentence, right? Does it mean like the animal or the artifact? So if you guys don't know, a slug is like the shell casing of a bullet. So, maybe you find that in your backyard, or maybe you find the slimy snail-like animal in your backyard. This is lexical ambiguity, and it's lexical because it's focused on just one word item, one lexical item. And this is semantic. What's the meaning of this word? And how does it change the reality of your statement that you make? Similar example, this will make you smart. So does that mean it will make you intelligent, or does it mean that it will make you hurt somehow? This is lexical ambiguity. We don't know the meaning of smart. We have to choose, or we have to infer it by context. Okay, so here's an example from a really funny movie called Airplane 2, which is basically the same movie as Airplane 1, but slightly funnier, which is hilarious in and of itself. Can you find at least one example of lexical ambiguity in this clip from Airplane 2? So this is on YouTube. You can find it yourself, but I suppose I'll just play it for you now in case that's easier. If not, you can skip ahead.
Striker during the war. I'll never forget the night we bombed Macho Grande. Stryker was a squadron leader. He brought us in real low, but he couldn't handle it.
Buddy couldn't handle it. Was Buddy one of your crew?
Right. Buddy was the bombardier, but it was Stryker who couldn't handle it. And he went to pieces.
Andy went to pieces?
No. Andy was the navigator. He was all right. Buddy went to pieces. It was awful how he came unglued.
Howie came unglued.
Oh, no. Howie was a rock. The best tail gunner in the outfit. Buddy came unglued.
Andy bailed out.
No, Andy hung tough. Buddy bailed out. How we survived was a miracle.
Then Howie survived.
No, afraid not. We lost Howie the next day.
Over Macho Grande?
No, I don't think I'll ever get over Macho Grande. Those wounds run pretty deep.
Those wounds run pretty deep. Okay, you can't see me, but I'm smiling and trying to hold back laughter. You can pause the video, go back, watch it again. But this is a trial scene about a guy named Stryker who was a pilot in the military. His team members, so the other pilots, they were named Buddy, Andy, and Howie, and those are all common names. So watch it again. Try to find some linguistic ambiguity. Decide if it's structural or lexical. And if you want extra credit, you can send me the answers. Okay, so that's it for the semantics video. Next up is the pragmatics video. Take a look.